Well, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is removing all the members of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. It's a panel of independent experts, makes recommendations on how vaccines should be used. Angelica Peebles joins us now with more. Good morning.
Morning, Joe. So Kennedy in an op-ed yesterday writing that a clean sweep is needed to reestablish public confidence in vaccine science. Now, he claims that changing members will root out conflicts of interest that have turned the committee into a rubber stamp for vaccines. But it's important to know here that ACIP doesn't approve vaccines. That's, of course, the FDA's job. So once a vaccine is approved, it's up to the committee to recommend how that vaccine should be used. And they don't always agree with the FDA or the vaccine manufacturers in that case. So one recent example is RSV vaccines. Originally, they agreed with the FDA label, and then later they narrowed their recommendation, limiting who they said should get those shots. So medical groups like the American Academy of Pediatrics condemning the firings, the AAP calling this an effort to silence independent medical expertise and stoke distrust in life-saving vaccines. And there's also an ACIP meeting on the books 2 weeks from now, and the goal is for the new members to be announced by then. That's according to a person familiar with the plan. And a number of votes are on the agenda at that meeting, including recommendations for COVID vaccines and an RSV immunization for babies from Merck that was just approved yesterday.
Do you know how many were just recently put on? That's one of the things RFK says in the editorial, that a lot of them were appointed just last year or late last year by the Biden administration. Was it out of the 17? Do you know how many it was, Angelica?
The majority were recently nominated. So, in fact, RFK Jr. does say that all of them were appointed by the Biden administration, and many of them were recently added. And the goal there was to try to prevent RFK Jr. from actually going and making many changes. So that is one thing that he does talk about. But of course, these panels are supposed to be non-political. They're not supposed to, side with any particular political party. Yeah. They are supposed to make independent vaccine recommendations.
Far be it from the Biden administration to point anyone political to the Labor Relations Board or anything like that, the FTC. We know how things really work in Washington. Were any of them just glaringly obvious connections to the industry that you know? Do you know any of them personally?
Mm-hmm. They do have a website where you can look and see the conflicts of interest, because at every meeting they are supposed to disclose if they have any conflicts. And if they do, they're supposed to recuse themselves from those votes. And really, when you look on the website in terms of the documented conflicts, there aren't that many. There are a few in the last year where people did recuse themselves because they were involved in clinical trials, things like COVID vaccines, RSV vaccines. But otherwise, there really weren't a whole lot. It's not like you opened it and saw tons and tons of conflicts.
Right. We have a governor's race, and I noticed one of the other ones there. One of the guys, wanted the endorsement of Trump, but didn't get it. Spadilla, I think. And then Jack Ciattarelli, who almost won last time, did get the endorsement. But one of the guys said, I did, when I disagree with Trump on one of the ads, I say so. I disagree that he didn't fire Fauci in his first administration. And I disagree. And he didn't get rid of the swamp completely. So that was his two criticisms were making him even more. Yeah, coming at it from the right. But I guess if I had to think, Angelica, that, I don't just give a rubber stamp to all these guys. Yeah, I mean, Fauci, that what we know now and what we saw come to pass back then. So I don't know enough about these 17. It certainly looks like RFK's longstanding sort of skepticism towards vaccines is being manifested. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not for all of us, right?
We'll have to see, right? That's the next question, is who will these new members be? And Senator Bill Cassidy, of course, he was very vocal about his concerns about confirming RFK Jr. And yesterday he put out a tweet saying that, of course, the risk here is that he will stack the panel with people who share his skepticism about vaccines, and that he's been in touch with RFK Jr. to make sure that doesn't happen. But we have about 2 weeks to see what exactly does happen, Joe.
Right. We already had people writing in saying, I don't know if they'd be talking about Cassidy. What was Louisiana's vaccine rate during COVID.
That's a ridiculous criticism.
It is, but
he's Cassidy. We've had him on the program. He's a smart, thoughtful guy.
Right.
Happens to be a physician as well. Republicans.
Maybe Louisiana could have done a better job.
Yeah, no argument, but that's
Right.
Cassidy's fault.
I don't know. Rick Scott was yesterday taking credit for everything, either good or bad, in Florida, and he's the senator, right? But he used to be governor.